I recently went to visit my grandmother's sister. She lives in a village. Once upon a time, many years ago, it was a huge village with a large white stone church and a tannery consisting of 2 brick buildings. But one day the owner of the factory went abroad and the church was destroyed. And gradually people began to leave this place. Now only a few old people live here permanently. The rest of the houses have been sold as summer houses. In general, one of the tannery buildings, which housed the directorate and a small part of production, 2-story, red brick, with beautiful carved stone window frames, was also sold by the state into private hands. The building has outlived more than 1,000 tenants. For several decades it housed an orphanage. In the courtyard stood a huge poplar tree planted by the first owner of the plant. The poplar was a beauty. If 3 people stood up and held hands, only then could it be hugged. The red building, half hidden from the sun by the mighty branches of the poplar, seemed to radiate joy and peace. But the new owners didn't need the poplar at all. They decided to cut it down and started sawing off the branches from the top. It was impossible to cut it down at once. It was too big and spread out. The poplar was the pride of the village, and when they started cutting it down, all the locals gathered under the tree. With sadness, and some with tears, they watched this barbarism. It was like a slow execution. It was as if a part of a person was being cut off every day. The story was told that all the locals heard a groan. It was the tree itself moaning and screaming. So the new owner hired a crane and workers from the city. And one day they removed the tree, leaving a large stump. The building immediately lost all its splendor. The direct rays of the sun immediately exposed the pits of bricks that had collapsed in some places. The windows, which once reflected green foliage and blue sky, turned black and looked like the hollows of eyes in a skull. The building itself, stripped of its green foliage, looked dead and stunted. But that's not the most important thing. The building itself had become a living hell. The chimneys, designed for centuries, were no longer letting the smoke out of the fireplaces and stoves. The family who owned the house almost died from carbon monoxide when they stoked the fireplace on the 2nd floor in the evening. Thank God they got a bad headache by opening all the windows in time. But the house didn't stop there. Every day it brought new surprises. The owner of the house broke her arm falling down the stairs from the 2nd floor. She swore that someone had pushed her hard in the back. The recently repaired plumbing leaked and flooded the basement. And the owners themselves suddenly became unreasonably angry. They began to quarrel with each other often. They even fought with each other. At night they heard incomprehensible sounds, footsteps, creaks. One night they clearly heard laughter and talking in the corridors and empty rooms. These sounds were so loud that they were very frightened, and in the middle of the night, they packed their things and left for their apartment in the city. A couple weeks later, the owners arrived with a group of people. They set up their equipment, measured something, and walked around the property with spinning metal slats in their hands. As I understood it, they were paranormal investigators. Their conclusion immediately spread throughout the village. In the crown of the felled tree lived the forces that protected the neighborhood from evil. And when the tree was cut down, there was no place for them to live, and they left to look for another place. And all the evil power that had been accumulating for many decades immediately began to torment the new owners.
It's still good,
They said.
that you managed to get away alive. You moved just in time.
To confirm this, neighbors said that shortly after the tree was cut down, Passing by, they saw with their own eyes through the fence how some creature, looking like a little man, was sitting on the stump. It was crying silently with its face in the palms of its hands. The neighbors were stunned by what they saw and asked over the fence, "What happened? What can we do to help?" The creature raised its head and turned into a white haze that immediately spread across the property. This is the story I heard when I arrived in the village. I feel sorry for that poplar tree too. When I was little, I used to play in the shade under its branches. And the red building still stands abandoned and stares at the village with the black pupils of empty windows.